Welcome back, Arcadians. Alex here with another video, and I'm absolutely delighted to show you in this episode a new arrival for the arcade archive. It is Atari's Battlezone from 1980. Now, the funny thing is we've actually had the cabaret version in the museum now for over a year, and it's a fantastic cabinet, it really is. But whenever I speak to Arcadians that come and visit the museum, it's always the full-size upright that have so much nostalgia for playing back in the day. And the same for me as well. I mean, I remember playing it at a travelling fair, stepping up onto this huge megalith of an arcade machine and being absolutely blown away and taken in by the whole immersive experience. So when a fellow collector came along and said, look, would you like to have the full-size upright on loan? I jumped at the chance because this game is an extremely rare cabinet to find, complete in this sort of condition. So to have this at the museum is something really special, because I know it means so much to so many. Just stepping up onto this machine, looking through the periscope, seeing the whole Pepper's Ghost effect and the UV lighting, and just being totally immersed in this 3D environment. It's an incredible machine, and I just can't wait to show you in this video. So you can imagine my excitement when delivering this machine to the museum. I mean, this is the first time I've seen the cabinet in 40 odd years, let alone transport the thing. And at first I thought it was going to be extremely heavy, but actually a lot of the weight is in the bottom of the cabinet, and because it's quite tall, it's actually quite easy to move around. As with any new arrival at the museum, there's always an air of excitement, but on this particular occasion I had a crowd of patrons witnessing me trying to do the limbo with this megalith of an arcade machine through the entrance door. Wow, just look at this machine. Standing at 6 foot tall, it towers over the player and any other arcade machine it happened to be around. It's an incredible machine. Very industrial looking, very enticing for a young player like me back in the early 80s to get up on this step and take command of this battle tank. But Atari didn't just make this step for kids. It was actually quite a structural addition to the machine. And in fact, they actually put a memo out to a lot of the operators telling them to make sure they install this step for fear of it actually toppling over. So it's actually quite a structural addition to this amazing arcade machine. Designed by Ed Rodberg and inspired by the top-down shooter tank, the game is considered to be the first true 3D arcade game with a first-person perspective. It was a huge success for Atari, and some 13,000 uprights rolled off the production lines in the early 80s. Now, whenever a new cabinet arrives at the museum, I like to give it the full inspection. I mean, this cabinet actually arrived working, and I did switch it on just to see and play the game, as I like to do, and I noticed that the radar was really difficult to see. Now, Battlezone has a vector XY monitor, black and white, but on top of the monitor it has a colour gel, a red gel and a green gel. And I noticed that the radar was really difficult to see, and there was some light reflection going on as well, so it was kind of distracting from the gameplay. So the first thing I did was to get the plastic periscope moulding off of the machine and just see what's going on inside. Now, to get access to the monitor, I need to remove the half mirror, which gives you the whole Pepper's Ghost effect. Now, I'm getting pretty serious here now. I'm putting some rubber gloves on, but there is a very good reason for this. It's because, you know, my hands are quite sweaty, and I've had it before where glass has just slipped out of my hand. So the gloves just give me some extra grip, and it also stops fingerprints getting on the glass as well. carefully putting the half mirror to one side, I can now get access inside the cabinet to the monitor. On top we have a cardboard bezel. This basically just frames the picture and probably stops any light escaping. And then you have the coloured gel. Now straight away I can see the root cause of all that light reflection, and it is this. It's because it's badly warped. There's not a lot I'm going to be able to do with that. All I can do is order some more. But I can give it a good clean and hopefully maybe put it back the opposite way up just to try and reduce some of that light reflection. Now before I put the gel back in place, I've just got to get rid of some of this glue residue which is around the edge of the monitor, and just give the monitor a good clean. To align the gel properly with the image, really I need to turn the machine on and reinsert the half mirror. But it's just incredible to see before I do that, the lengths that Atari went to in creating this really immersive experience with this UV backdrop which all lights up. This is the image, the cardboard image you see through the half mirror, and when it's all lit up with the black light, it looks absolutely incredible. Now I'm pretty sure there is a right and a wrong way of putting this back in, or there is a reflective side, but I'm really struggling to see which side it actually is, so I'm just going to have to take a chance on this. So not really knowing whether I'm putting this mirror the right way up, but I guess we'll find out when we turn the machine on. We're taking a chance here. This is another tricky little operation, moving this mirror into the cabinet. And as always, there's always something in the way. And this time it is the cable for the light that was causing me problems, but I did manage to get it in. And then it was just a case of screwing the batten back in, which holds the mirror in place. Now that was more tricky than it actually looks. I'm trying to hold the mirror and align the holes up to get the screw through the batten into the side of the cabinet, but we got it done. Right, so before I go any further with this, I just want to make sure I've got the mirror the right way up. So let's just test that. Let's turn it on. Might take a little while to warm up. And I might have the gel slightly out of alignment, so we need to get that perfect as well. There we go, we've got an image, which is good. It's still a bit dull, and I can't see any of the artwork on the cardboard. The light's on. I haven't plugged the light back in. Let's plug the light back in. Right, let's try it now. Do we have a bulb? Yes. And we have a black light. And we have an image, which is great. But what I really want to see is whether I can see that the red gel seems to be a little bit too dense, or it's still not clean enough. Because I'm struggling to see the radar on there. Maybe it will make a difference with the light out. But look who's top of the leaderboard. Alex with 36,000. Turning the light out of the room, I could see things a lot clearer, and I could see whether any improvements I'd made had made a difference. The radar was definitely clearer, but unfortunately the green gel was still warped and it was still reflecting a lot of light. This is not a problem though. This is something I can return to at a later date once I get the replacement gel. But before I put the plastic periscope back on, you can really see here the full effect of the Pepper's Ghost and the really colourful and vibrant UV artwork on this display is absolutely gorgeous. So just a couple more jobs before we get to play the game, and I just want to clean the plastic mould periscope, being very careful not to scratch the perspex. The periscope, funny enough, was actually dropped from production in later models, allowing them also to ditch the half mirror as well. This allowed other players to get a better view of the gameplay, I would imagine, and more likely for Atari, cheaper to produce. Also, a few thousand machines have been found with holes drilled into the side of the cabinet, and recently documented for being made to support an extra monitor mounted on top of the cabinet. None of these complete machines have ever been found, but it's interesting that Atari were trying out new ways of attracting new players. Looking inside the cabinet, I thought I was going to have to get the Hoover out and give it a good clean, but it's absolutely spotless. This has been a well looked after game. The cabinet comes with the original manual, which the owner has kindly loaned us, and the original board sets. Now, they're all wrapped up because we're not actually running the original board sets. We are running the Red Zone kit, which is basically software emulation. Now, this kit runs off the original loom, so no alterations have been made to the cabinet. But more importantly, it's running other games. So you can actually play Red Baron on here, as well as Battlezone 2, which is a fantastic game, which I'm going to show you later on in the video. What I also love about this cabinet is what Atari do best, and that is the side art. Just look how gorgeous this is, and it just covers the whole side of the cabinet. Battlezone also boasted 2 controllers. This feature gave you a more realistic feeling of driving a tank. This came in the form of a left and right hand controller that in turn controlled the tracks on each side of the tank. If you push the left controller forward and you would turn right, the right forward and you would turn left, push left forward and right back and you would turn right on the spot, and vice versa. It sounds complicated, but actually once you grab hold of these controllers it all makes sense. And of course, if you push both controls forward, you would go forward and both controls back for reverse. The twin sticks on this cabaret have started to get a little bit unresponsive, a little bit sticky. So I think I'm going to get Richard to have a look at these. While Richard is looking inside the workings of the control panel, I went to find the original operator's manual. And what I love about Atari is they made some fantastic manuals, so well detailed, with easy to read diagrams. Here you can see the inside workings of one of the stick controllers, and it does say to keep the pivot pin clean and well lubricated. But my only worry is that the plastic inside has deteriorated and broken down, and that's that crunchy feeling I'm getting when I'm moving the sticks. But let's see what Richard thinks.
A couple of sticky controls on the Battlezone, they tend to jam forward, and it's because of years of build-up of grime in there, and it's wearing away on the plastic. So just to avoid any further wear, we're going to put some silicone grease in for now, and then give them a full strip down. And actually we've got some 3D printed parts which will replace these that have been temporarily put on there. These are just plastic acrylic discs with some really big bolts. So we're going to replace that with a nice 3D printed part and actually screw in from the back, and that'll make it look a lot more like the original cabinet. So I think what we'll do to start with, just get this grease in there, work it around a bit, and hopefully that'll free things up. You need to give that a bit of a wiping of that. That's it, that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to twang back to the middle, whereas that one is jams forward, so we will try and get that one unjammed. A bit of one. There we go. Oh yeah, it's quite crunchy. Might need a good clean and then another grease, but yeah, that's going to need a bit of clean out first. So we've got the gunk out, so we'll give that a clean and then put some more grease in. That should do it well. Last another 50 years.
Well, there you go, guys. Keep your twin sticks well lubricated. Thank you so much, Richard. Now, with both machines now ready for me to play, I think I should take one of these out for a spin, don't you? Walking up to the machine always takes me right back to when I first played this as a kid. And the first thing you notice is that the periscope shuts out large parts of the outside world. So you get a real intense experience, like an early form of VR headsets, really. Now, Battlezone is not an easy game, and I find it more of a game of hide and seek, seeking cover behind obstacles and then attacking just at the right moment when the enemy has taken its shot. Now, because the enemy can only have one shot or missile on the screen at any given time, this allows you a small window of opportunity to get your shot in once it's fired. Now, they are a bit of a distraction, but they're worth 5,000 points. That's these flying saucers. And then you've got these guided missiles that are worth 2,000 points, but they can be really tricky to get. Now, I don't have many tips for you. Unfortunately, guys, I'm not that great at this game. I think my top score is around about 45,000. But what I would say is just keep moving and use that radar as much as you can, and don't feel like you have to go after every tank, because another one will appear. So just keep moving and use those obstacles to your best advantage. Later stages of the game, you get the super tank. That's worth around about 3,000 points if destroyed, but they are very difficult. But you do get an extra life at 15,000 points and another one at 100,000 points. Now, what you're about to see is a game that's true to the original, but updated in a way that I think is faster, fairer, with more enemies, and extremely satisfying to play. It is Battlezone 2.
Welcome to Battlezone.
The presentation for this game, I think, is first class, with a female voice welcoming you into the game in a kind of playful way, really, just to have some fun. It's a little bit less serious. Now, what I love about playing Battlezone 2 is it feels like you're playing the original, but the intensity and the atmosphere is times 10. It is incredible, especially through this cabinet, which, you know, it's a wooden cabinet, so the acoustics are really bassy, and when you're firing these huge missiles, it's booming, this cabinet. It just feels so immersive. Battlezone 2 is an incredible game, it really is. I mean, I'm blown away by this now, but you can imagine playing this back in the day. I mean, it's just amazing. When you get the power-ups, the pickups, the machine gun, the homing missiles. Oh, it's just so satisfying. It really is. It's so cool. Well, that's it, guys. That's all I'm going to show you. You'll have to come down to the Arcade Archive and challenge me to a game if you want to see more. But before we go, I just want to say a huge thank you to Jeremy for loaning this machine. I mean, it's absolutely immaculate. The only jobs I really need to do is just to replace that gel. And it's done. It's in fantastic condition. I've never seen a game like it, and it's great to have it in the museum. It really is. And I'm sure it's going to be enjoyed by so many. It really is. But that's it for this week, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next one.